At 6:55 a.m. on June 11, 1940, Flight Lieutenant George Burgess saw 55 Savoia Marchetti bombers approaching Malta at 12,000 feet, escorted by 21 Macchi fighters. He had 3 aircraft, they had 76. His Gloster Gladiator biplane, designed in 1934, could reach 257 miles per hour. The Italian monoplanes could hit 313. The mathematics of this engagement said he should die. Instead, he climbed. And what happens over the next 51 days will reshape the entire Mediterranean war in a way nobody predicted. The smell of castor oil and hot metal fills the open cockpit. The Bristol Mercury engine, 840 horsepower, 9 cylinders arranged in a radial, screams at 2,520 revolutions per minute. Burgess pulls the stick back. Rate of climb, 2,300 feet per minute. But the SM-79 bombers are already over Valletta. He's watching 142 bombs fall on 3 airfields while he's still 4,000 feet below optimal intercept altitude. Here's what Burgess doesn't know. Malta has exactly 4 operational fighter aircraft. And here's what the Italians don't know. And this single piece of missing intelligence will cost them the entire Mediterranean campaign. 2 of those 4 are held together with parts cannibalized from wrecked naval fighters found in packing crates at Calafrana. This is the Siege of Malta. It begins with 3 biplanes against an entire air force. But the strangest part of this story isn't the odds. It's what these 3 biplanes trick the Italians into believing, and the catastrophic decisions that belief causes. We'll get there. Malta occupies 95 square miles. Sicily, 60 miles north. Sus has 9,900 square miles and holds 325 Luftwaffe and Italian aircraft by 1942. But in June 1940, Malta possesses 42 anti-aircraft guns, 5 antiquated Fairey Swordfish torpedo planes, 1 radio-controlled Queen Bee target drone, and 4 Gloster Sea Gladiators borrowed from the Royal Navy after Britain's Mediterranean fleet left them behind. The 4 pilots are volunteers. Flight Lieutenant George Burgess, former flying boat pilot, personal assistant to Air Commodore Foster Maynard. Flying Officer William Timber Woods, station flight Hal Fair. Flying Officer John Waters, the only one who has ever flown a Gladiator in combat, trained for exactly 7 days aboard HMS Glorious. Squadron Leader Alan Jock Martin commands them. One of these 4 pilots will be burned across 40% of his body before this story ends. June 10th, 1940. 9:40 p.m. Mussolini declares war from the Palazzo Venezia balcony. Malta receives word at 10:15 p.m. At 10:47 p.m, Burgess and Waters conduct radio telephone practice in Gladiators N5519 and N5520. It's the last training sortie they'll ever fly. In less than 9 hours, those same cockpits will smell like cordite. But before we get to that first scramble, you need to understand exactly how outmatched these aircraft are, because the performance gap is worse than you think. The Gloster Gladiator represents the terminal point of biplane fighter development. 4.303 Browning machine guns, 2 mounted in the fuselage at 600 rounds per gun, 2 beneath the lower wings at 400 rounds each. Total ammunition load 2,000 rounds. Rate of fire 1,150 rounds per minute per gun. Do the math on that. At maximum rate, a Gladiator pilot has 26 seconds of firing time before his guns run dry. 26 seconds against 76 aircraft. Remember that number, because one pilot is about to achieve a confirmed kill with just 3 seconds of trigger time. Maximum speed 257 miles per hour at 14,500 feet. Service ceiling 32,800 feet. Range 428 miles. Empty weight 3,444 pounds. Loaded weight 4,750 pounds. The pilot sits under a sliding canopy with armor plate welded behind his seat, added specifically for Malta. Against this, the Savoia Marchetti SM-79 Sparviero, 3 engines, 870 horsepower each, crew of 5, maximum speed 267 miles per hour, 4 machine guns across defensive positions, bomb load 2,755 pounds. The SM-79 can outrun a Gladiator carrying a full payload, and the Macchi MC-200 Saetta, monoplane fighter, 870 horsepower. He has maximum speed 313 miles per hour, two 12.7mm breeder machine guns. The MC-200 is 56 miles per hour faster than the Gladiator. On paper, the Gladiator has zero chance in a head-to-head engagement, but paper doesn't account for one critical variable, a physics advantage hiding inside the biplane's own design. And when one pilot discovers it mid-dogfight, it changes everything. Italian formations rely on tight defensive boxes, interlocking fields of fire from bomber gunners. British doctrine at Malta, improvised from nothing, relies on individual pilot aggression, attacking from below and behind, closing to 200 yards, firing in short 3-second bursts, breaking hard before defensive gunners acquire the target. It's reckless. It's desperate. It shouldn't work. But it does, and the reason why will only become clear after the third engagement. June 11th, 1940, 6:55 a.m. 3 Gladiators scramble, Burgess in N5531, later nicknamed Hope, Martin in N5519 Charity, Woods in N5520 Faith. The scramble takes 90 seconds from alert to wheels up. Ground crews have been sleeping beside the aircraft. Fuel tanks topped off, guns loaded. The pilots run across 200 yards of tarmac in tropical heat, already hitting 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Burgess sees them first. 9 SM-79s turning south of the island in a wide circle, preparing to return to Sicily. He cuts across the circle's diameter, geometry reducing intercept time by 43 seconds. Martin follows. They close from 8,000 yards to 1,200 yards in 4 minutes. Burgess fires. First burst, 3 seconds. 230 rounds, convergence point set at 250 yards. Tracer rounds from the bomber's dorsal gun pass 15 feet above his canopy. He brakes left, pulls 4 Gs, climbs 800 feet, dives again. Second burst, 4 seconds, 306 rounds. One of his bullets strikes Capitano Rosario di Blasi's SM-79 in the fuselage. Damage, superficial. Di Blasi maintains formation, returns to Sicily, lands at Catania 41 minutes later. First combat engagement result: no kills, no losses, a failure by every military metric. But something else just happened. Something the pilots don't realize yet, and it's more valuable than any kill. 5 hours later, one SM-79 returns on a reconnaissance sortie, photographing bomb damage. 2 Gladiators scramble. Waters in N5520 intercepts at 9,000 feet. He closes to 300 yards, fires 520 rounds in 2 bursts. The bomber turns sharply, dives 2,000 feet, heads north at full throttle. Waters claims it shot down. RAF intelligence records it as driven away, mission incomplete. Actual result: SM-79 returns to Sicily, lands safely, no casualties. But the Maltese civilians watching from Valletta see a British fighter chase an Italian bomber away, and that changes something no bomb can destroy. Keep that in mind, because by the end of this story, civilian morale becomes the single factor that prevents Malta's surrender. 7:25 p.m., the 8th raid of the day. Woods scrambles in N5520. He intercepts 2 SM-79s at 11,000 feet, attacks without result. Then a Macchi MC-200 flown by Tenente Giuseppe Pesola, 79 Squadriglia, attacks Woods from above. Pesola fires 125 rounds. All miss. Now watch what happens. Woods turns left, tightest turning circle the Gladiator can manage. Radius, 820 feet at 180 miles per hour. The MC-200 follows. They circle for 3 minutes, both aircraft burning fuel at 32 gallons per hour. And this is the moment Woods discovers that hidden physics advantage. Lower wing loading, 17.05 pounds per square foot versus 31.0 for the MC-200. The biplane can outturn the monoplane. The aircraft that's slower, older and weaker on paper has one thing the monoplane doesn't: a tighter circle. And in a turning fight, a tighter circle means you shoot first. Woods gets deflection. Fires. 4-second burst. 320 rounds at 90-degree deflection angle. Pesola's MC-200 enters a steep dive. Black exhaust smoke pouring from the engine. Woods believes the fighter is destroyed. RAF credits him with Malta's first aerial victory. Actual result: Pesola lands safely. Aircraft undamaged. Black smoke was unburnt fuel. The kill never happened. But here's war's real mathematics. Perception creates reality. The gladiators are fighting. Malta sees them fighting, the population cheers, and the Italians, watching three biplanes that should be easy targets repeatedly getting past their escorts, start making a decision that will cost them dearly. They start flying higher, more cautiously, bombing less accurately. That behavioural shift is about to show up in the numbers, and when it does, the results are staggering. But first, the gladiators need an actual kill. And it's about to happen in the most efficient way imaginable. June 22nd, 1940, 4 p.m., 1 SM-79 approaches on reconnaissance. Tenente Francesco Solimene, 216 Esquadriglia, flying MM-22068. Burgess and Woods scramble. They intercept at 13,000 feet over Slima. Woods attacks first, no visible damage. Burgess manoeuvres behind the bomber, closes to 180 yards, fires. The port engine explodes, hitting the fuel line. The SM-79 catches fire. Solimene and co-pilot Sottotenente Alfredo Balsamo bail out over Calafrana. The aircraft explodes 14 seconds after they jump, killing the remaining 3 crew members. HMS Diamond picks up Solimene after 1 hour in the Mediterranean. Balsamo is recovered after 8 hours. First confirmed kill, 1 SM-79 destroyed, 3 Italian airmen killed, 2 captured. Cost, 180 rounds of .303 ammunition. Value, approximately £7 sterling. Remember when I said one pilot would get a kill in 3 seconds of trigger time? That was it. £7 worth of bullets just changed the intelligence picture for the entire Italian Air Force. But the very next day, something happens that nearly ends Malta's air defence permanently, and it has nothing to do with the Italians. June 23rd, 1940, 5 SM-79s, 3 MC-200s approach. 2 gladiators scramble, Woods in N-5531, Burgess in N-5519. Burgess attacks the bombers. Sergente Maggiore Lamberto Molinelli, 88th Squadriglia MC-200, attacks Burgess. Burgess turns hard. The MC-200 overshoots, speed differential working against the faster aircraft. Burgess fires from below and behind. 3-second burst, 220 rounds. Molinelli's aircraft catches fire. He bails out into the Mediterranean off Sliema. Italian records later claim Molinelli was hit by anti-aircraft fire. British records credit Burgess. Molinelli survives, is hospitalised. Burgess later visits Molinelli in Imtafa Hospital. Molinelli is not friendly. Second confirmed aerial victory. 2 kills in 2 days, momentum is building, and then Malta's own runway nearly destroys what the Italians couldn't. Woods lands after the same engagement. During rollout, N-5531's landing gear strikes a Queen Bee target drone parked beside the runway. Undercarriage bent, lower wing spar cracked, N-5531 out of service for 6 days. 1 aircraft gone. Then it gets worse. Squadron leader Martin, June 21st, hits a packing crate on takeoff. N-5522 flips onto its side. Martin walks away. Aircraft declared total loss. 4 hours later, Flying Officer Peter Hartley strikes the same packing crate in N-5524, loses 1 wheel, aircraft overturns on landing. Hartley survives with minor injuries. 2 aircraft destroyed in 1 day, not by the enemy, by a wooden box sitting next to a runway. Malta's air defence is collapsing, and not a single Italian bullet caused it. Now here's where it gets desperate. Squadron leader A.E. Lukes, Command Engineering Officer, examines both wrecks. One has fuselage damage, one has tail damage. Lukes says, "A hybrid was born out of 2 corpses. They combine parts from 2 destroyed aircraft, create 1 flyable machine. It takes 6 days. This is Malta's logistics equation. No spare parts, no replacements, no reinforcements. Every bullet fired is irreplaceable. Every damaged aircraft is a permanent loss unless it can be rebuilt from wreckage. And the Italians are sending more aircraft every week." So how does this end? Not the way you'd expect. By end of June, hurricanes arrive. 4 aircraft on June 21st ferried from North Africa. They don't stay. They refuel and continue to Egypt. Gradually, more hurricanes filter in. By August, enough arrive to form a squadron. The gladiators transition to secondary roles scrambled only when hurricanes are refueling or underarmed. Faith, hope, and charity have done their work. But until you see the final numbers, you won't understand how much damage 3 obsolete biplanes actually inflicted, and I'm not talking about bullets. Italian losses, June 11th through June 30th, 1940. 2 SM-79 bombers shot down confirmed, 1 MC-200 fighter shot down confirmed, 6 aircraft damaged requiring major repairs, 7 Italian airmen killed, 3 captured, RAF losses same period. 1 Gladiator shot down on July 29th, Flying Officer Hartley, badly burned, survives. 2 Gladiators destroyed in landing accidents, 0 pilots killed, 88 sorties flown by 4 Gladiators over 20 days. Average, 4.4 sorties per day. Average sortie duration, 47 minutes. Total flight hours, 69. Total ammunition expended, approximately 12,400 rounds. Those are the bullet numbers. Now here are the numbers that actually won the war. Italian bombing accuracy drops 34% after June 11th. Bombs intended for Grand Harbour and Halfar Airfield fall on open fields, killing 0 personnel but cratering 14 acres of farmland. The Regia Aeronautica starts conducting reconnaissance at 18,000 feet, above the Gladiator's optimal performance envelope, extending mission time, reducing photographic accuracy by 61%. The Italians claimed Malta would fall in 2 weeks. It holds for 1,179 days, and the reason it holds starts with a deception so effective that even Churchill didn't fully plan it. Air Commodore Maynard's after-action report, filed June 30th, 1940, states Malta's defence cannot be sustained beyond August without significant reinforcement. Malta has 4 operational anti-aircraft guns with fewer than 200 shells each by June 15th. Grand Harbour has fuel for 7 more days of operations. The island is weeks from collapse. If the Italians had known this, they could have taken Malta with a single airborne assault, but they didn't know. And the reason they didn't know comes down to 3 biplanes. Winston Churchill, receiving ultra-decrypts of Italian communications, realises Mussolini believes Malta is heavily defended. Churchill orders the Mediterranean fleet to conduct aggressive patrols, giving the illusion of strength. The Gladiators, visible, dramatic, engaging multiple times daily, convince Italian intelligence that Malta possesses at least 12 fighters, possibly 18. The actual number never exceeds 6 operational aircraft simultaneously. 3 biplanes created a phantom air force, and that phantom air force scared the 5th largest military in the world into hesitation. That hesitation bought time, and what that time bought is almost impossible to overstate. By July 29th, Charity N5519 is shot down. Peter Hartley bails out with 40% burns. By February 4th, 1941, Hope N5531 is destroyed in an air raid on the ground. Only Faith NE5520 survives. It's retired in 1943, presented to the people of Malta, and now sits in the National War Museum at Fort St. Elmo, Valletta. You're watching history that rewrites mathematics. A biplane designed in 1934, obsolete by 1937, facing modern monoplanes, achieved a combat ratio of 3-to-1 kills to losses, despite being outgunned, outnumbered, and outperformed in every measurable specification. If you want history told straight, not dressed up, subscribe and keep these stories alive. A biplane designed in 1934, obsolete by 1937, facing modern monoplanes, achieved a combat ratio of 3-to-1 kills to losses, despite being outgunned, outnumbered, and outperformed in every measurable specification. The question isn't how they survived, it's why being worse on paper actually made them more dangerous. Speed isn't victory. The MC-200 was faster, but speed made it overshoot in turning engagements. The Gladiator's lower wing loading gave it a turning radius 23% tighter. In dogfights lasting 3 to 7 minutes, the tighter turn meant the Gladiator could bring guns to bear 4 to 6 times, versus the MC-200's 2 to 3. Operational flexibility beats technical superiority when supply lines fail. The Gladiators flew with reduced fuel, 180 gallons instead of 230, gaining 340 pounds weight reduction, improving climb rate by 8%, trading endurance for performance. They landed with an average of 11 minutes of fuel remaining. 11 minutes. 1 navigation error, 1 extended dogfight, and they fall out of the sky. But here's the lesson that matters most, the one military academies still teach. Visible defense creates morale. Morale sustains populations. Populations enable resistance. If the Gladiators had never flown, Malta's 250,000 civilians would have watched unopposed bombing. Panic would have spread. Churchill estimated surrender within 28 days. Instead, the population saw 3 biplanes climbing into impossible odds every day for 51 days. They built bomb shelters. They repaired runways under fire. They stayed. If you believe these men deserve to be remembered, not as propaganda but as they were, subscribe. These stories don't tell themselves. By 1942, Malta becomes the most bombed place on Earth. 3,000 raids, 6,700 tons of bombs on Grand Harbour alone, 369 British fighters shot down defending the island, 64 more destroyed on the ground. But in June 1940, 3 obsolete biplanes bought time. Time for Hurricanes to arrive, time for Spitfires to deploy, time for anti-aircraft batteries to be installed. And from Malta, submarines and torpedo bombers sank 35% of Axis supplies to North Africa. By September, 100,000 tons sunk. Rommel's Africa Corps, starved of fuel, called off offensives at El Alamein. Montgomery counterattacked. The North African campaign turned. An Italian post-war report stated, "Malta was the rock on which our hopes in the Mediterranean foundered." That rock was held initially by 3 biplanes. George Burgess survived the war, became a group captain, died in 1987. Timberwood survived, returned to civilian life. John Waters survived, returned to Australia. Peter Hartley survived his burns, returned to operations, flew Spitfires, survived the war. Faith, hope, and charity, the aircraft, became legend. The men who flew them became footnotes. We remember names painted on fuselages. We forget the pilots who pulled triggers, burned fuel, calculated deflection angles, and decided that 3 aircraft against 76 was acceptable odds. What they did wasn't heroic in the Hollywood sense. It was mathematical. It was cold. It was, here's what we have, here's what they have. Let's see if geometry and aggression beat speed and numbers. Geometry won. Malta held. The Mediterranean remained contested. North Africa turned. Because 3 pilots, in June 1940, climbed into obsolete biplanes and made the Italians flinch. That flinch bought 51 days. Those 51 days bought 3 years. Those 3 years bought victory. If you want these men remembered for what they really did, subscribe. Because once stories like this go quiet, they're gone forever.